Hey everybody, we are live. Wow. Hi everybody. We're just gonna start. We're gonna ease into this. And let me see who's coming on. Okay, Freddie's joined. Freddie, hold on a second, 'cause I gotta introduce you. I'm Musa Jackson, and I'm the host of Ever Stories. And I'm just really excited for today because this particular guest that we have joining us is how do I put it in words? He's a definite fashion icon. He is, to me, quite possibly one of the greatest stylists in history, fashion history. And we're going to get into his story because this man's story should be told, has to be told. And I've known him for most of my life, over half of my life. And he's a dear friend, but he is walking history to me in fashion. So we're going to bring him on now, and I can't wait to introduce you to. If you don't even know, you should know, and please look him up, Google him, the whole thing. The iconic, the amazing Freddie Leiba. Here we go. Okay, that right here. Freddie. Is he there? There he is.
Hello.
How are you, handsome?
Good. So, Musa,
Yes.
we were introduced by Karen Alexander.
Who, you and I?
Yeah.
No, we weren't. I'm going to tell
because
you how we were introduced. We were actually introduced by Naomi Campbell.
Naomi, sorry. Yeah, Naomi.
It was Naomi
It was
Campbell.
a party, her birthday
Correct.
party. In the
Correct.
hotel, Ian Schrager's hotel.
It was at Ian Schrager's hotel. It was her birthday party. I think she had turned 20 years old.
Yeah.
And she sat me next to you. I think I was between you and Andre Leontali.
Right.
I remember that. And Madonna was next to us.
Yes.
And I think I was flirting with her and maybe some of the her Vogue dancers. But you and I connected, and if I recall, and we're going to get into that.
Right.
You had just started Allure magazine.
All right. So that would have been
90-ish.
Yeah, the end of the
Yeah, it was end of 80s, 90.
Yeah.
You just started Allure magazine.
Yes.
And but before we talk about Allure, Freddie, we have to go back. We have to talk about your beginnings, and I don't think maybe people don't know, or they do know. So you come from, and I've been there with you, the beautiful island of Trinidad.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? What your life was like growing up?
Well, my life in Trinidad was, my mother was a seamstress. My father disappeared when I was a child. And in those days, people, they felt like dogs, but people never separated.
Right.
But my father was just gambling, and doing and then my mother was working.
Right.
And women didn't work in those days. They just would cook and clean and have babies. But my mother was a seamstress. And how I got involved with that fashion, 1950s, they were making a movie in Trinidad called Fire Down Below with Rita Hayworth. And I had never seen a woman like that in my life, because my mother was taking me around a park and all the
was that Savannah?
In the Savannah. And she was staying in a hotel in the Savannah, but I just saw this woman who I'd never seen in Trinidad before, with this flaming red hair and this yellow dress, about to start being photographed for her movie. And that really stuck it, that really kind of made me very curious about Hollywood.
Right.
But I was quite young then, and then my mother, those days people believe in Santa Claus. Well, Santa Claus gave me a library card. Oh. I'm expecting toys, but it's a library card. So the library card, which really I then started to use, and then going into the library is where I saw magazines. Down at Vreeland was the Vogue magazine, and I would see all these iconic pictures of beautiful women on the cover of magazines. And then I got totally fascinated with fashion by seeing this. And then then I would bully my mother into looking a certain way, and Lena Horne and all of these people,
Right.
you know. And when my mother came to America, my mother came to America as a nanny.
Okay.
And
That's right.
she was this American couple saw her and kind of was fascinated by her. And they said, come to America. And she came and said, my mother was a very qualified, educated woman. But she thought that it would bring is a big opportunity to come to America.
Especially in those days.
She came to America. She came and she was there for, and people lived in Long Island, some very wealthy people, and they were really looked after her. And then she had the opportunity to leave, and she became a secretary to a dry cleaning company on Sutton Place, and it was called J.D. Denningham. And it was a dry cleaners where Marilyn Monroe, Rita Hayworth, and all the movie stars had their clothes dry cleaned in New York. And I would go, and I started going to school at FIT, and I'd go to meet her to go home together on the subway with her to Brooklyn. But she would show me all Rita Hayworth's dresses and Marilyn Monroe, the dress that Marilyn Monroe, the Kennedy dress, Kennedy, she showed me that dress.
Wow.
And that's where the fascination about fashion and me. So I ended up going to FIT. And in FIT in the 60s, it had just opened, I think it was 1960. And Stephen Boris was in my class. And we all, and I used to pals around with them, and Antonio Lopez, who became a very famous illustrator.
Amazing.
So, and that's really where it started. However, I dropped out at FIT. Besides doing the fashion, I also had to do liberal arts, but I was hopeless in liberal arts. So I dropped out of FIT, and there was a school up on Broadway in the theater area called Strapagan School of Design. But they only concentrated on fashion. I didn't have to do
all the other stuff.
All the other stuff. That when I got there, then it all started to work for me. And then they had a competition. It was the 60s now, and there was a Lovin' was happening in Woodstock, and all these things were going on. So they decided to have a design in and get all these kids in school to design something immediately. And I did it, and I won.
Wow.
And then the New York Times and the Women's Radio did a story on all of the winners from all the different schools, and I was in the middle of it. And that is where it all started.
Wow. So then how did you get to, then from there you went to London, is that correct?
No. From there, I got a job. I was offered a job as a designer for maiden form bras. But I would have to design the lingerie, not the bras, but the lingerie, the nightgowns, because people went on elaborate honeymoons in those days. And they were, so I had that job for maiden form. And then all of that happened. Then I went to England.
Right.
Now, when I went to England, and I'm going to call a man's name, but a very important man who worked for the royal family brought me to England, met my mother and said, I want to take your son to London. And my mother, London was the place to go and study because Trinidad was British. So I went to London, and that's where it all started.
Right.
He took me to the Royal College of Art, and then I got a job at a designer who designed the day clothes for the royal for Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret.
Right.
Because all of the ball gowns and all of that were done by Christian Dior in England. But anyway, so this other Englishman, I started working with as an assistant.
And at that time in London, there was so much happening, right? And you were in the beginning of all that.
I was in the beginning of all of that.
Yeah.
And what happened was, I left then for some reason, I was hanging out in King's Road was happening.
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles had just started, and Rolling Stones and all that was going on, and I wanted to be part of all of that. So I got a job. I left there. I left the design company, and I ended up working in King's Road, selling to pop stars. And the place was called Jean Machine, where they imported American jeans, the jeans from all over the world, but all the pop stars like Mick Jagger, beginning with Beatles, and they would come in there to buy the jeans. So then I was photographed. There's a photograph in my, that picture of me.
The picture of you with
the leather.
Right. Were you wearing Stephen Burrows in that outfit?
Stephen Burrows I would wear, and they had never seen anyone looking like that before wearing Stephen Burrows. But but because I was working for the jean shop, I had to wear something in denim. Mm-hmm. So I had the Stephen Burrows trousers on with a denim shirt on. Mm-hmm. And then I got one of the buyers from Bronx was, they do their research on King's Road to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. And they saw me. And he said, I want you to bring you to and meet someone. They took me and I went to South Bolton Street and I met Joan Burstein.
Wow.
Now, Joan Burstein was the woman who discovered Karl Lagerfeld, Giorgio Armani, all of the big designers. And the design, and so I ended with this job as a salesman. Mm-hmm. And I was
her store was Browns.
Yeah, right. Browns. Mm-hmm. And they would come in like salespeople. This is Karl Lagerfeld. Right. With the garments over his arm to show them. So I experienced all of this, like Princess Margaret coming in, and so I experienced that world. Mm. And what happened was being, and I was going to clubs every night and dressing up and going to clubs.
Of course. How could you not?
Forgetting that I have to go and get a stamp for my passport in London. So I ended up being deported to America. Joan Burstein, Paul Smith, all came up to get me out of the airport to try to speak to, immigration wouldn't hear of it. I ended up living and sleeping in my mother's bed in Queens. But then Bronx, B. Altman's has, remember the store B. Altman's?
B. Altman's, yes.
Street? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they did something quite wonderful. B. Altman's, Bronx decided to put a store in Beyond, in B. Altman's. Mm-hmm. And then they hired me to run the store in B. Altman's. Okay. So I kind of get back into what I was, wanted to do.
Right.
So that started. And then
you met someone very interesting.
I met also Mark Ballard. And Mark Ballard, who had just started Interview, said, come and work for Interview magazine.
So let's context with Mark Ballard. At that time, Mark Ballard was working at Interview magazine.
He was the art
Andy
director
Warhol.
of Interview. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that's where the job started. And then he said, I'll dress. Because I think in those days, I don't want anyone to dress me. Why should I be dressing someone? And I said, don't they dress them? So he said, no, we'll pay you to do it. So I ended up getting this job at Interview magazine. And then it started with these pictures of...
So tell us, can we see a couple of photos of Interview magazine? Because you did a lot of the covers.
Yes.
For Interview
magazine. I was
magazine.
going through all of them. I just want to show you because it's
a couple. Let's just show us a couple.
So this is she's a princess.
Catherine Oxenberg. Can you pull it back, Freddie? Pull it back a little bit. Pull it back closer to you. There you go.
See that? What I did with her is that the earring was Robert Lee Morris jewelry, so this became. So here's another one, Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
Pull back just tad. Pull that back towards you. Yep. Love that cover, Mary.
And I can't find a picture of Brooke Shields. This is
I love that's the Brooke Shields. So if you can pull that back, guys, this was a very famous photo shoot with Brooke Shields. Who shot that? Was it Abaddon or Was it
Albert
Albert
Watson.
Watson? That's
Yeah.
right. Very
And
Albert
this is
Watson.
This is Brooke Shields' first cover. I'm looking for the cover right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I. But anyway, so that all started
Right.
to the that this kind of started.
It puts you in there. I mean, you're in it, and now you're part of
Yes.
it. Now you're part of the New York fashion scene. You're with Andy Warhol. You're doing the covers. You know.
It's also good at because the reason why it also made my life that they hired me is because I had the connections with all the designers in Europe from working in Browns, so I can get anything I wanted.
Right. Right.
So I can get Armani had just started his career and all the design. So
that's beautiful. And then from there, how do we segue? You had worked with Interview Magazine for quite some time. And then what came after that?
Well,
or actually, no. Before we go to the next thing, at that time, let's talk about the Studio 54 moment.
Yes.
Because at that time,
we
obviously know the
every
70s.
Night.
That was 77, I believe, when
night,
yeah, you were there. So talk about that a little bit. Let's give it a little.
To hang out in my apartment, and we would all go to Studio 54, and it was the place to go. So I had all like Naomi and Iman and everyone coming. There was this in Central Park West.
Naomi Sim.
And that was then. That's a big. And then we'd all go to Studio 54, and that's where I met Norma Kamali. And after the demise of Studio 54, when Ian Schrager and Steve Rubell, you know the story that they went to jail and then they came out and then they started to do the first boutique hotels in the world. Right. And then for some reason they hired Giorgio Armani to design the uniforms for not the editions. The first hotel was on Andre Put.
It was
on my.
It was right.
And they hired her to she did the interiors, but then hired her to also create the uniforms. And she got Giorgio Armani to do it. And for some reason, Ian and Steve Rubell said, we want to change the uniforms. And they would only book models. They only wanted beautiful men and women.
The Morgan. It was the Morgan.
The Morgan Hotel.
The Morgan.
Yeah. So they would have like how you get cast for a model agency. They had a guy who casts for the hotel. So they had beautiful girls and beautiful and handsome men working. They're all models.
Right.
And I had to dress them.
Yeah. And you started all that. And then you did all of his hotels.
Yeah,
you did all of Ian Schrager's
hotels. The first one.
Right.
Then after that was the Royalton Hotel and then the Paramount. And then to this day, now he's involved with the hotel downtown, which is called the Public. The Public. And then the editions all over the world. So I still do the editions.
Right. And we're talking about a long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're talking about a long collaboration between you two.
For that, yeah. So,
and then we can now skip to, let's go the Harper's Bazaar era.
Yeah. Well, Harper's Bazaar was before Harper's Bazaar, just before Harper's Bazaar, I was doing Italian and Bazaar.
Let's go there.
Yeah. And I was doing French world covers, Maria von Hart. But these were all because of these photographers really trusted me and really, I didn't come from an editorial magazine background, but they trusted me. And then I was doing all these covers from all these important magazines. The Interview magazine started that, of course,
Right. But, yeah. They saw your eye. You had an incredible eye.
So after Interview, it went to Harper's Bazaar. And then one of the most famous things is Madonna. Giving Madonna her first cover.
Right.
And then the gold suit.
And the bra.
Yeah, the Gautier. Sorry. So, and then this happened.
The comb bra, y'all.
The comb bra, yeah.
What she's synonymous with for the rest of her life. Video. That comb bra and Jean Paul Gaultier was here, fellas, right here. So, Fabulous. I love that editorial.
All
One of
of
my
these
favorite.
things. But then when I started doing Bazaar, and I was the only person who looked like me working in the magazine, and I had Julia Roberts just started her career. She was doing a movie called Pretty Woman, I believe it was Pretty Woman. So they sent me
some movie called Pretty Woman.
Yes. So they sent me to Los Angeles to photograph Julia Roberts. And I had Giorgio Armani send all these beautiful clothes and all the big designers, Chanel and all, send me all these clothes so she can pick and choose. Because working with an actress, you have to give them a choice. And it has to, you have to fill the room with clothing because they have the publicists there and everyone has an opinion. So I had to cover myself. So I had every designer's clothes there. And then I decided, you know something? I'm not going to show her all these clothes. I'm going to show her what I think she's going to like, but I'm going to hide some of them.
Right.
So I hid some of them because I know Karen Alexander was in LA and I had her phone number at home. So I said, Karen, could you come to the studio at 5 o'clock and we'll do something? Now, Calvin Klein had just started his career and it was hot to, you know, Calvin Klein was hot, the underwear and all that. So I hid all the American clothes, designer clothes, that Julia wouldn't see it. But I hid it for Karen. Now, Harper's Bazaar doesn't know I'm doing this.
Right.
So Karen came after Julia left, and she came and I kept the hair and makeup, and then I put Karen in the Calvin Klein outfit, and she got the cover.
Yeah, beautiful. And for context, and just for context, for anyone who knows, Karen thing is, was an African American model.
So I was the first one to give an African American cover in a magazine.
Beautiful, Karen.
So, and then that started the whole. And then from Bazaar, Anna Winter had started a magazine called a Leo magazine, and she saw what I was doing with Harper's Bazaar, and she wanted me to leave. Because Harper's Bazaar is owned by Hearst, and Vogue is owned by Condé Nast. So is there like two? I don't want to say enemies, but in competition with one another. Yeah, rivals. Yeah. So Anna, before she went to Vogue, she would work for New York Magazine, and I didn't know what a stylist was, but she did a story on stylists, and she used. She invited me to do it. Tony Goodman, who's still at Vogue, Wendy Goodman, and some other people who had very important jobs in the fashion magazines. But for some reason, and what she did, she gave us all the same suit. And it was a Calvin Klein first collection of a white suit. And I had a friend, Anna Anderson, she's behind here in one of these pictures. And I wanted to do her like a comic strip character called, in the 50s, was a model called Millie the Model, was a comic strip character. Where, so I kind of did her, Anna, as Millie the Model, with a big black cocktail hat and a white suit, a Calvin Klein suit. For some reason, it opened a page of that story of all the different stylists. And that's where it all started. And then I was brought to Harper's Bazaar, then I did a Leo, and it's French Vogue and Italian Vogue, and that's where the career
and for context, just so people understand, with that moment, if people are watching, they really didn't have the stylist word that is now just out there. So they really coined this word stylist.
Stylist, yes.
On Freddie.
Yes.
So when we look at the stylists that are out there who are watching, this is the man they coined the word stylist on. So I just want to keep going, that people understand this is history. So keep going. And so now you're at Harper's Bazaar. You've opened the doors for black models. I met you at that time because of Naomi Campbell. Yeah. And me and Naomi were friends. I was modeling and she was modeling, and she put us together, me, you, and Andre Leontali. And that's when you were coming into Allure phase. Yeah. And that, you were there from after Harper's Bazaar. But at Harper's Bazaar was an amazing time because that's when really the reign of the supermodel started with that thing.
Right.
And you were part of that.
I also gave Cindy Crawford the first cover. But what happened was, when I went to Allure, there was a very someone, for the want of a better word, put a knife in my back, which is a photographer. He said he didn't want to work with me. And I said, so I went to Linda West, who's the editor, and she said, you know, if he doesn't want to work with me, because Vogue had all the best photographers, and Harper's had the best, but Allure, they were just starting and building on photographers. And I said, well, if then I'm not doing my job, so I'm afraid I'm going to leave, and I left.
Wow.
So I left, and then I went to just freelancing. And then InStyle got hold of me. I did all the Rolling Stone covers.
You did.
I gave him.
Can we not forget this? Can you pull back this incredible cover of Denzel Washington? His first cover.
His first cover.
Can we do this right here? Can you just pull closer to you, Freddie? So this image right here. Tell them about this image and how you got Diana Ross in this outfit.
Well, I was shooting Denzel.
Okay. You're shooting Denzel.
But then the next day I had to do Diana Ross. So I had these women's clothes hanging there. And he said, I hope these clothes aren't for me. Because all the good. I said, no, that's for Diana Ross. She's coming. So he said to me, tell Miss Ross to get herself a good weave. Which is, he's making a very, thing. So I said, she's coming in the next day. So anyway, so Miss Ross came in and it went smoothly. So, and then from there, you saw this Chaka Khan, right?
The Chaka Khan. No. Yes, I love that.
Chaka Khan was hot, singer. I called Terry Mughal in Paris and he sent me this dress that I put her in. So,
but Diana, back to Diana Ross. She's known for her sequins and her gowns.
But this is the beginning. This is the beginning of Diana. This is before sequins. This is the beginning. So, and then from doing all the interview magazine with Andy Warhol, and because how I got involved with Andy Warhol was Mark Ballard, who I met in London, and he came and he became the art director for Andy Warhol. And when I came to New York, I was deported, as you know, because I wouldn't get my stamp. And when I went and ended up with no job, back sleeping in my mother's bed in New York, he said, come and work with us. And I said, do what? I said, what can I do in the magazine? He said, no, you dress the girls, all the photography designers. So he hired me to dress the people on the covers of Interview magazine.
But you've done many covers, Freddie. You've worked with and also done styling for many celebrities, whether they're singers, like you've done Queen Latifah. You've done, you did, listen, I don't know where to start.
Queen Latifah.
There's Queen Latifah, right? Okay. Beautiful cover.
And this is,
keep going. Beautiful cover.
Yeah.
That's Viola, right?
Viola Davis. And this is Diana Ross's daughter, Tracy.
Tracy, we love Tracy. Yeah. And then, on another, and then within style, we're talking about Sarah keep going. Beyonce, one of her first covers, right?
And that was a picture because Beyonce wanted to be with the Cowboys because she grew up.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? Here's the funny part. She just came back with the cowboy doing doing Western music, country music, and you started that the first issue ever of her. She's in her roots.
Her mother told me that where they grew up is where they were black cowboys. I think in some part of New Jersey or something like that. And that's how she grew up. Right. So I was just honoring her background.
Her roots.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then let's also talk about some of your other styling, which you've done with people like Sandra Bullock Meryl Streep. The list
Yeah.
is long. It's very, of course, and then I've been honored to meet her with you many times. Janet Jackson. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Well, Janet
She's
Jackson.
wonderful. Love her.
So that was her cover for India. Well, Janet Jackson, I met through Frank Cooper, who used to do her hair and who used to do her makeup.
Frank Cooper.
Sadly, when Michael died, Janet was with me in my apartment, and then I flew to her later to the funeral and all of that. But she's still today, she comes here now and visits.
She comes here. Okay.
She comes to.
We won't give
here,
a location.
Yeah.
I know where you live though.
Yeah. So and I'm still in touch with her. Not, you know, she checks in with me, and so no, it was a wonderful time. You know, the thing is, I never went and pushing myself with these actresses. You know who's looking at it now? Mark Ballard.
Oh, is he looking?
He just saw his name just came.
Oh, what wonderful! Yeah. Hey, Mark, we're talking about you. We were talking about you, but also, Freddie. Another thing, you know, we of a certain age, and even now, but specifically, you know, when we lost so many dear friends
AIDS.
To AIDS. Something really miraculous happened in your contribution, because you are a philanthropist.
Well, what happened was...
Tell me about that.
When AIDS happened, it was a mystery disease. And a friend of the fashion people, I was going to one memorial after another, and it was quite devastating. Yeah. And what happened was, I was invited to a dinner. I was a big fan in the Plaza Hotel. And I was sitting next to a lady, and she asked me she's asking me what did I do, and I told her I worked for magazines and all that, and we all in those days would wear the red ribbon on your lapel. Remember when it was going on? Yeah. So I had the red ribbon on I was wearing a tuxedo. I had a red ribbon on the tuxedo jacket, and while talking to her, I was playing with it on the lapel. And I just happened to take the ribbon off and put it in the middle of the plate, the empty white plate, the starter plate. And then it became this.
The iconic plate that represented...
And the reason why I did this is because it was like a mysterious disease that came from Africa. They were saying all these came from Africa. And I figure, and then I said to her, no, she told me what she was doing. She manufactures plates for all over the world. And her office, her New York office, was in the Antique Center right across from Bloomingdale's. You know, the Antique Center there. She had an office there. So in the conversation with her, I took the bread ribbon plate, put it on the starter plate, and then she said, oh, that's too morbid. No one was going to buy that. So I said, okay. The next day she called me, she had a thought about it. She said, I want you to come and see me in the office. And I went, and then the AIDS plate happened. And this plate was raising money for all the people who were suffering for AIDS. And it went international. Yeah. So that was, that's the story. It was a plate and a cup.
Right.
A coffee mug.
You had the cup, the mug as well, right?
The white mug and
white mug.
And the plate.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the whole point of it, you know, fashion is all being fabulous and all, you know, it's all an ego thing. But, you know, I grew up with a mother who really, you know, Christmas as a child, I'm not getting Santa Claus, she dragged me to the orphanage to see what the other kids had to go through. And so I grew up with that, you know, to honor her really, because you know, she would, and in New York, when she came to New York before she died, she worked for the Board of Health, where she gave homeless people food, organized that. So all of that was done in honor of what I learned from her. It's all been fabulous and blah, 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 but it was important to really do something that has a meaning.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Freddie, you know, when we're looking at a lot of these images, and you know, I knew there was once upon a time where, you know, we're looking at these images, and so many, you cross so many different categories, and also being a you know, a black man, a person of color. How difficult was that for you to navigate that, or
Well,
was it just, or you just kind of just kept
I
going? What was
rose
your
above it.
secret? What was
No,
going on?
I rose above
You rose above it
because
Okay.
my responsibility was to take care of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I rose above it. I never let it get in the way. And because I knew how to speak to people and to deal with people, these doors opened for me because of how I
Presented.
how I presented myself to them.
Yeah.
So that because everywhere, even at a fashion show, it was just me, Andre, and Michael Roberts from London that looked like me.
Right.
You know, it was just 3 people in the front row seats.
Yeah, that was what it was.
But the thing is, I never went showing off. I never jumped in front of a camera to people to photograph. I actually move away from it.
You've never been that person.
No,
You've never been like that.
I love photographing people, not me being in it.
What do you think about that? I mean, listen, you know, we live in an age, you know, you know, like I said, there's so many images, so many iconic images that are out there that you styled that, like I said, some people don't know that you did those. I'm really grateful for these type of platforms where people get to honor you. They get to see who you are. You've always been this gentleman, and you've always sort of honored the subject. The subject. You always said, that's the star. That's who I'm there to dress. And now it seems like the stylist has now become the star, or wants to be the star. What's your thoughts about that in this generation? What's happening?
Well, I'm so, you know, the thing is that there were stylists around. I was not the only one doing it. But the reason I was doing it is the only job I can do. Number one, I was qualified to do. And I was basically taking care of my mother. That was the focus. Nothing else was the focus. It's the only job I can physically do that they would pay me. And the reason was I was taking care of my mother.
Yeah.
That was the only goal that I had, is to make sure she's okay and look after her.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you know, the thing is, behind me, or surrounded me, is all things that people were very kind to. These pictures of horse,
the horse and the pens and the Albert Watson.
These things were all gifts, and these things are hanging in Paris, in the museum in Paris. I mean, you know, I looked at the price of one of these pictures, and it's unbelievable, the cost of it. You know, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, they're priceless, like you are, and your work, oh yes, we think so. We think so, and your work and what you contributed. Any funny stories with pen or Horst? Anything you want to share with that?
Funny stories.
Any Horst or?
I used to more have funny stories with the models.
Oh, with the models.
I take her when she undressed, I take the panties and throw it out the window or something.
You're driving, the model takes the panties and throw it out the window.
Or you know, because you know, I have the funny stories were, I mean, because I had to be professional with the photographers, but with the girls I can, you know, because they used to hang out with me. Talking about hanging out with me is Mr. Trump.
Excuse me?
No, I'm not going to go there.
We won't go there.
Yeah.
We won't give him. We know, and we know that you like I said, you've met everybody and worked with a lot of different people, but we won't give that man airtime right now. But what I will say is that once again, as a model, and you having worked with many Black models, you help so many of us really kind of, and specifically the women, really kind of get some of their first jobs. You know what I mean? Karen, you mentioned, and there's Naomi and people, and then you work with Imans and those people. So, what was that for you? How did you feel about that, being in that space and being able to help?
It's something I didn't have to think about it. Okay. They're beautiful girls you know, and I just did what I thought was right. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I never thought I'd never made. I mean, I did, yeah, to get the cup. Like for instance, Karen was a good example because I had to go behind the back of Julia Roberts and create and did Karen, and she did get the cover.
Right.
But I just thought it was my responsibility to really look into to celebrate these, no matter who they were.
Right.
And I mean, later on, I did Cicely Tyson.
Oh, wow. Can we pull back a little bit? Look at that. Beautiful. And that was what was
Essence,
that for Essence
magazine.
Okay.
It's the same, you know. And then this is J.
That's Joy Bryant.
Yeah, Joy now,
Bryant.
This dress was done by Alexander McQueen, and because I had a relationship with him, because Essence wouldn't be able to get these dresses, but they sent it to me and I put it on Joy Bryant.
Wow.
One of the Queen's
fabulous
collection.
image.
Yeah.
Fabulous image.
And this you introduced me to her.
I introduced you to who? Oh, right. So that if we pull back a little bit, that's wife, Maya, who is Marcus Samuelson's wife.
Yes.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Looks she's very regal. Yeah. She also happens to be my neighbor.
And then I had a contract with Victoria's Secrets.
Yes.
And this is Tara Banks.
You had a whole Victoria's Secrets moment, Freddie.
Yeah.
You were doing Victoria's Secrets, and I'm going to also talk about Lane Bryant with Aretha Franklin. So don't think you're getting off. You're not getting off the hook with that. So let's talk about Victoria's Secrets, and then we're going to go to Lane Bryant. So tell me a little about Victoria's Secrets.
Well, when the thing is, having done the Harper's Bazaar and Andy Warhol before, then I was offered a lot of different jobs, you know, just because of the background, the portfolio that I had. So Victoria's Secrets, I was doing all of the styling for all of the ads, and then the Tara Banks, we were in St. Bart's shooting the girls on the beach, and then that's how Tara Banks got that. No, this was Jamaica. I'm sorry,
Jamaica. Okay.
And this is done by Walter Chin.
Walter Chin? I love Walter Chin. I love him.
He did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then
that was a wonderful, because I was traveling all the time to different parts of the Caribbean. They
were great for that.
Yeah.
Great for their location.
Yeah.
And then you did, let's talk about Lane Bryant, which is totally different. Now you're going from that shape to the Lane Bryant.
Because Lane Bryant was owned by the company who owned Victoria's Secrets. They also owned Lane Bryant. And then when Lane Bryant, they asked me to do a show, and I said, and I got them to do, I said I want to get Aretha Franklin to open the show. And of course, you know, Aretha's a big lady, and I took her into Bloomingdale's and I bought a gong for her, and then you were there at the show.
Well, you hired me to. I had to work with Aretha Franklin because of you.
Right, of course, yeah. So that was a wonderful experience.
It was.
Yeah. Well, what was wonderful is I took her shopping like an ordinary person in Bloomingdale, because she's a certain size, so the designers don't have that size, so I had to go to a department. So I was friendly with the president of Bergdorf, and I said, "Can I bring Aretha in?" And she took us around, and that's how that.
I think it was because at that same show, I think was Anna Nicole Smith in that.
Anna Nicole Smith, who I had to deal with, which was something else.
She was something else, and maybe Tyson. I think Tyson was also Tyson. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there was all these different kind of personalities.
And we did the show in Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
Lincoln Center.
Yep.
And we did the show.
Yeah. Amazing. It was an amazing show, amazing experience, and you know, I had to. So just a little context. We were backstage, and Anna Nicole was being Anna Nicole, and I helped you with the male models, but I had to remember, but Tyson, right? And then Aretha needed help, and so then I rushed in and helped Aretha on stage. But before I did that, I had to wipe under her chin. I remember that.
I don't know.
I had to lift up and wipe her down. And then she looked at me and she said, thank you. And she sang for the gods.
Yeah.
Went out and just sang. But it was a wonderful time because all these different type of personalities were going on backstage.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so there were, so it was looking, you know, Musa, I just did it. I never thought about it, you know. It's only when I started recently speaking to people at the different schools and all of that, because I have a room full of all these tear sheets.
Yeah.
It was just a job I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was
now when we think about you, Freddie, and of course your amazing career, you know, because I know it's for you knowing you, and I've known you for decades now. It's job to job to job to job to job. And that's how you've always been. And within that, you amass this incredible life, this incredible career. And so I'm excited that hopefully someone like you will have a book, a documentary of your life, because I feel like you're the type of person that, you know, now we need to study you. We need to know you. We need to see your contributions. And I'm, you know, first one signed up to say, I would love to see a Freddie Leiba book. And hopefully we'll see something like that in the future. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking about a book. I'm thinking about it. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
You know, a book is not easy.
Yeah.
You have to get permissions and all of that. So
Yeah.
right now it's a conversation. That's
okay.
all.
Well, I'm hoping anybody that's looking at can assist this situation. Maybe, you never know. And also, Freddie, when we look at what's happening now, you've seen so many different eras of fashion. You've seen them. You've been a part of it. You're still a part of it, very much a part of it. I just worked with you just recently. Tell us your thoughts now, because I think it's important that we hear from you in regards to what happened, you know, what happened and what you see currently. What are your thoughts in regards to the state of fashion,
well, you know,
and where we are?
Musa, I never spoke about myself.
Right, right.
Everything that came up is people asked me to. I never went pushing myself.
Right.
I never spoke because I was brought up to have good manners. You don't speak about yourself. You speak about other people. You know what I mean? So it's not natural for me to go on boasting and who I knew and you know, when I lived uptown, I had Janet Jackson there and just my friends there. And there was no big production. Still, she comes here and she'll visit me and she's sitting there like normal.
Yeah.
I don't make a big production out of it and of importance. And of course, you know, I told you in the building where I lived, there was only a person that looked like me. I think these celebrities coming to me. And of course, they would ignore me in the big people in the building. But when they saw what was coming into Princess Margaret coming to see me and every celebrity, all of a sudden, they all want to invite me to dinner so I can invite them back. And I didn't do it.
No,
you
you didn't.
I know what,
Yeah. I mean, look, you know, and we have a little bit of time left, you know, you had and have still had some of the best parties and would have, you know, and what I loved about your parties, your dinner parties was, yes, there were so many famous people there, but they got to just be themselves. You know, they got to really let their hair down and really just kind of, you know, we got to see who they were, you know, and, you know, I was there. I'll always be grateful to you for those wonderful moments. And, you know, and I think that's the special gift that you have, Freddie, is people are able to just be themselves around you. And
it's people that I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care who they were, how important they were. It's just people who are kind and who are good and who was supportive. And, you know, so I never judged them on the importance of them. Or, you know, I had my cleaning lady be part of the party. I'd have a shoot. I'd have a survey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everybody's like family around you. And that's what I love, is that we all became your extended family.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
no, but it's yeah, but I don't treat anyone,
No,
you know, anyone
no,
in any kind of
no hierarchy. That's what
no.
people, no hierarchy with you, you know, Freddie. So, oh my God, there's so much more I wanted to talk to you about, but our time is here.
Yes.
And but I just want to say to you, from me to you, you know, I love you, I adore you. You're part of my life, always, you know, since we met all those 30, 40 years ago. And you've always been just this incredible human being, and I enjoy you. We all do. And your work speaks for itself. It's timeless, it's classic, it's iconic, and if you're watching, I think you should just really know who this man is and really research his work, and and you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. And you've seen his work. So I just want to say to you, I love you, I adore you, and you know, I'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. It was a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much for joining Era Stories.
Thank.
Okay.
Okay.
My love. Mwah.
Okay.
Take care,
We'll
everybody.
see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Get off now.